I could be very, very, very mean, but I'm not. Forgiving. You know, it's something that I'm having issues with the people in my life. They've already lived their lives more than I have. And I've lived my life more than they have in other aspects. Sure. But you gotta understand that's me filling that void. If you think you need to continue partying, drinking alcohol, self-destructing because you can handle it better than I can or other people can, and you think that that's just how it is, but it's not. Sorry to tell you that, but I'm not going to help you if you can't help yourself. In the future, you're going to go to a nursing home. I don't care whether you want to or not. That's what you're going to do. I don't care if you haunt me. It doesn't bother me. I'm not afraid of ghosts. You know? It's something you don't really understand about me. And you could if you listen to what I have to say rather than think that you're right and anything that I say is wrong because you're right. Just because you're right doesn't mean you're not to blame. Doesn't mean that you're not a little bit wrong also, and how you present how you're right. Um, that's kind of the main issue here. It's a difficult thing when you know you're right. Um, you have to be nice. You have to be easy on other people, especially in these sort of things when you have struggles within your family. It's, yeah, you don't have money to help me pay for this truck that I broke down. Yes, it's my fault. I shouldn't have tried to drive it. I shouldn't have fallen to peer pressure of doing this thing that I did deserve to do. I did deserve that little bit of vacation time for working my ass off, starting a company, and then end the year off on a good note rather than, a bad one, of course. And I'm sober now. I've given up weed. I've given up alcohol, even. And I've been trying to give up other things as well. It's been a little bit difficult, but slowly but surely getting there. Getting a little bit better each day. And eventually, I'd like to say, I'm giving up more than just those two things. And I've made quite a bit of room for spiritual growth in the last month, 2 months. Massive amount. I'm not quite into new territory. In some ways, I actually am. In some ways, I've never been this far before, and so it's a little bit exciting, actually. When you're in those moments of, oh wait, I've never been this fast before, or I've never gone this far before. That's really exciting, and that's something that I'd like to continue to do while I'm able to, rather than just give up. It's hard for me to say these things. It's extremely hard for me to say. It hurts me to say these things because you got to understand that's a hard thing to let go of. It's the hardest thing to let go of. Yourself. So that other people can make more room for themselves. Which is not deserved, because if you're doing that, then you deserve it more than they do, but that's what it takes for them to understand that they need to not take up so much space. That's where I am too. I'm having a really difficult time with that because I know I'm meant to do that in this world. I'm an artist. This is my purpose in life, is for other people to see these material things that I've done so that they don't have to do that. In a nutshell, that's the reason why I do what I do. It seems a little bit imperfection and backwards, But that's exactly it. It's to use your resources. If you're going to use them as wisely as possible. Don't half-ass it. Because when you don't, it causes a lot of stress. You know? It causes lots of shadows and shinings that might not necessarily be so good. Because they're very, 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 very powerful. A lot more powerful than you think. So you really do have to worry about what you do say. You know? But actions are more powerful than words. You gotta understand that too. And so, you know, you gotta really look at it. You can't sit there and say, oh, I ran 10 miles when I was younger. I do that all the time. That's nothing to me. That's not impressive. You think that that's comparing yourself to me. You're not even close. That's how I know that you don't know me. If that's really your argument towards me, you don't know anything. You don't know the first thing about running. Just because you were able to do that when you were younger, that tells me that you've given up on life. That not only that, but you don't even know that that's not even that impressive. Most people don't even understand that running 10 miles isn't that impressive. Which is nuts, but I think to a lot of runners, oh yeah, for sure, it's not that impressive. Even running a full marathon, even that is not that impressive. A little bit, but not really. As hard as it was, it's really not that impressive. That's hard to accept. That's hard to swallow. You know, I've never even ran a marathon myself, so how could I say something like that, you know? It's extremely, you know, I would want a lot of praise for doing that also, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. It means a lot to you, I'm sure, because you went out and did that. You know, you worked your ass off for that, and you did that. And not very many, you know, some motherfucker like me just said something like that, and that would probably piss you off, but maybe that's healing, in a way. You can take some good from that, you know. You can tame your ego a little bit. You don't deserve the whole world just because you did something somewhat significant. You know, you gotta put it into perspective, also, for what it really is. And I think in my case, I'm extremely undervalued. And I can't get over that. It's difficult for me to do that because how am I supposed to sit here and value my paintings and value my words? They're priceless a lot of times, so it's difficult for me. It's very, very difficult for me. You know, to sit there and say, oh, that's only worth $100 when it's not. It's really not. It's really not. It's not worth me doing this painting for you for $100 just because you don't have money. Like, I understand that money is hard to come by, but I also can't waste my time. Time is more valuable than money. So that's the ultimate gesture is me giving you a free painting that's worth thousands and thousands of dollars in reality, but I get nothing in return. Pretty much. You know? So I guess you could look at it as a way of me shutting you up. So, hey, maybe you shouldn't treat me so poorly because I have this ability to do this thing that you don't, or that, sorry, that, you know, turn the tables a little bit here and see that, you know, you can also do this thing, but you want me to do it because you don't have the time to do it, right? Right? Is that it? So if you don't have the time to do it, then how do I? You know? Exactly. A lot of people don't like to see it from the artist's perspective. It genuinely was difficult, extremely difficult to do these things, and it's not worth pennies. It's not worth crumbs. It is worth the whole loaf of bread and then some. It is. A lot of times, not every time. A lot of times I like to do insignificant paintings and tone it down, bring it down a little bit to reality. But honestly, that's me being pessimistic and selling myself short, and I shouldn't do that so much. I wish I didn't. How are you going to value a painting like this above me? How are you going to value a painting like that? They're completely different paintings. I'm unique to history in the history book. How are you going to fit me in a history book when I'm not even consistent with myself? When really I am, if you look at it in a certain way. I'm inconsistent, but I'm consistently inconsistent. Not in a bad way, but in like I'm constantly pushing my boundaries, and I'm constantly reaching for something new territory, somewhere I've never been before, and that excitement is always there, so that it's not ever really stagnant. Even if it does get a little bit stagnant, sometimes I take that and I use it to grow from it. I make the most and the best out of everything that I'm given, even if it's good or bad. It doesn't matter what it is. I always try to do my best with what I've got and collect all of my surroundings and put it into something, whether it be a painting or my run or what I'm doing at work or hanging out with friends, family, whatever I'm doing. I'm always doing art, whether you realize it or not. I am always doing art, and you are also. We're part of that algorithm, even if beyond the phone. You're an algorithm anyways. You're constantly reacting and mirroring your emotions to your surroundings. Constantly. That's all we do. That's how we communicate. You try to get your people to speak to you in a better way. You can't sit there and tell them to worship you, but you can't also, get them to give them what you really deserve. You can't. It's a sub form of kingship, I suppose, if that's a word. Royalty. It's a sub royalty. You're not handed everything, but it's like it's an underground royalty. I did all these things myself. I do deserve a lot, and I'm not afraid to say that anymore. I guess I have kind of said that in different ways along, I've tooted my own horn a little bit, because I know I deserve these things. It's hard for me to scale back and not say that so directly sometimes. Because if I feel comfortable saying that, because if you do look back at a lot of these things, a lot of people are just like, what is that? And they're not going to really take it in for what it really is. They're just going to want to see it the way that they want to see it, because they're jealous deep down, even deeper inside, that they're not like me, that they're not as good as me. Now they are. They could be if they put effort towards it. They put years and years of constant effort every single fucking day of their life and devote every little bit of their energy to it. If they did that, they'd be, and they could, there's no reason they can't. There's people that are beyond me, but I'm still comfortable saying that, Doesn't matter to me how people perceive it. It bothers me a little bit. I wish people perceived it better than they did, but it's just another perspective of it. My perspective changes every day. Just because I had this perspective today doesn't mean I can't have a different perspective tomorrow, or 1,000 years from now, or yesterday even. constantly changing. And a lot of people think that you need to be perfectly in line with everything that you do, and they get so upset as soon as you deviate at all. They don't understand that that progress is not made unless you do that. That's the point of that. I think is what a lot of people completely miss, and they think they're all shiny and perfect, but really they're just nothing and boring and not really expanding or improving. They're just continuously getting slightly worse to a point where they don't even realize they're getting worse. They think they're staying the same, but really it's gradual decline when you could be getting better. There's no reason you can't get better and heal and, improve upon yourself. You can't constantly do that. There's a little bit of down. Sometimes you need to fail to succeed, Sometimes it takes that little bit of failure to say, okay, I did that wrong. And then you correct it, and then you go ahead and you do better. A lot of people are afraid to fail, so they make tiny little moves. They think that it's doing something, but it's really not doing anything. And another thing, too, I want to say while I'm sitting here ranting is that I am too much for people to swallow. And I love that about myself so much. That it's going to take you a long time to really understand what I'm saying. Because I'm a collective of everything that I've done. So there's really no way you can swallow me. There's really no way. It's not really possible. You can spend all the time in the world with me. Spend your whole life with me, and you're still not going to understand my perspective. I keep pointing over here at Kurt. It's, because I have a really, really, really deep spiritual connection with this guy because I've listened to his music more than most people have. I know I have. I can tell at this point. I've listened to like all the demos, all the B-sides, everything I can get my fucking hands on, everything. There's some live stuff I haven't listened to that I probably will eventually. But a lot of this stuff just comes to me, and I discover it, and I spend a whole day with this, and it always unravels itself, and I learn more and more each time I listen to it, and I forget a lot, and a lot of that stuff comes back to me, but it comes back to me in new ways and in new levels, and as I grow, it still stays there with me, and I think it was designed that way, to where it'll resonate with you as a child, but it'll also resonate with you as an adult, especially so if you let it develop with you. I think a lot of music is kind of designed that way. Ween is very much like that. Very much love Ween because of that. Trying to think of some other ones. Grateful Dead is another one. Great example of that. Nirvana, of course. And there's tons of other ones. Some of them are avoidant of childhood, I think, and they hit you in a certain aspect of, like, say, like when you smoke weed for the first time or something. Like, they recreate that experience. They capture that. You know what I mean? So, there's levels to it, and it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting if you open up your mind to that sort of thing. You don't even have to smoke weed to enjoy a song about that. I think you kind of do have to try it, but you don't have to continue doing that. You can just, that's kind of the point, is that, a lot of times, like let's take that example, like they smoke weed, and it's like, well, I don't really want to, it was a great time, but I don't want to keep doing that. I want to hold on to that. So it's like you have this canvas now of green, I guess. You got a green canvas now. And it's like you can continuously enjoy that, but you can grow from that, and you can pull layers out of that and still maintain that canvas. in the background, you know. It'll get minuscule as you grow, but that's part of the challenge of it, you know. And I think also part of the challenge is just letting it go.